I got a phone call one night saying, Dan, call this number right now. Honeymoon Suite's looking for a player, a drummer. And so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I knew Tim Harrington, the bass player of the band at the time. And so when I went down to do this audition, somebody had just walked out. Another drummer had just walked out, and I sat down and moved some things around. And of course, I was quite starstruck because, of course, there's Derry Grant. This guy's written some of the greatest songs ever. He's such a fabulous songwriter. And Johnny was there, and Tim was there. And Tim saw me and he gave me a smile. And I remember playing "Feel It Again," and I wasn't really prepared. I didn't come prepared knowing the songs like I should have, but they were still interested in listening to me play. So I remember when there was another one of the tunes that we did as well. There was a little bit of a breakdown in it, and I remember going blank in my brain as far as, how can we start again? And so I remember looking at Tim, and he was physically playing bass and showing me what it was, and oh yes, locked into it. So that went fine, and shook hands, left, and then they called me back, and I had called Tim, and I says, Tim, I'd really like this gig, I'd love to do it. And so I went back for another audition, and next thing you know, I got a phone call from Wayne, and he said, it's yours, you can do it. So this would have been 90, no, it wasn't 91, this would have been 97. And because I was born in 71, and I'm just trying to think, at 26 years of age, it would have been 97. So I was thrilled, so I had a lot of work to do. And I still think to this day, I was, even though I had done a lot of playing, I was still really green, and like playing in bars and really knowing that when you start a song, you come out full throttle, and when someone starts singing, you pull back, and when the chorus comes, you know how to bring things up, even when you're playing in a live situation, if you are playing to a click, that the chorus is coming, you can just climb on top of that click a little bit to give it some excitement. These are all things that I learned later on that I wish I would have known then. So but still, it was a great experience, and for how long it lasted, it was such a thrill for me. I loved it. So a couple songs I really enjoyed playing.
And do you remember the first time you became aware of Honeymoon Suite? I mean, before you joined them, they already had 3 albums, 16 singles, 8 times platinum. They've sold like 1 million albums. Do you remember where they first came on your radar long before joining them?
I was in grade 7.
Wow.
That's a long time ago. I was in grade 7, and I remember, of course we all heard that, near, and that was the first one we had ever heard, Burning in Love. And then another single in the video came out almost immediately. And then of course, how many songs on that album became like, top 10 hits, and the traction that they got in the States too. They did very well. Again, just such great songwriting, brains behind it, very smart.
And when you joined, were you overwhelmed joining a band with that much previous success, that much history, or were you more excited than anything at that amazing opportunity?
I'm going to say a bit of both. Of course, it's overwhelming. It's one thing about learning music, but then again, it's like I'm now having to represent this machine, and this is the thing. This is the stuff that's so important when you're involved with a project like this. You have to learn when to shut your mouth. You have to learn that you're now included as a face on the cereal box. Even though it's Johnny and Derry. But if you're playing drums in Honeymoon Suite, or playing drums with Atlanta Miles or Survivor, whatever, and you shoot off your mouth and do something stupid, it affects them. So of course, you kind of change your whole attitude, and you have to become professional pretty quickly, and But with those, yeah, it was overwhelming, and I think more than anything, I really wanted to make sure that I did a good job, and I'm very thankful that they had a live CD out, or like a live recording out called 13 Live, and so I kind of lifted that stuff, again verbatim, because it was so good. Some great chops in there, and when Creighton played on it, Creighton Doan, another great drummer.